Hey guys, Mel Williams. We are back, and I want to start off with citing some of this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Your habits are modern day solution to ancient desires, new versions of old vices. The underlying motives behind human behavior remain the same. The specific habits we perform differ based on the period of history. Here's the powerful part. There are many different ways to address the same underlying motive, like we talked about in my last video. One person might learn to reduce stress by smoking a cigarette. Another person learns to ease their anxiety by going for a run. Your current habits are not necessarily the best way to solve the problems that you face. They are just the methods you learned to use. Once you associate a solution with the problem that you need to solve, you keep coming back to it. Habits are all about associations. These associations determine whether we predict a habit to be worth repeating or not. All right, and this is going to play heavily into today's video topic where we're talking about how patriarchy systematically conditions men to develop a lot of bad habits that don't serve you when it comes to your goals of having healthy quality relationships with interacting and approaching dating and being in long-term intimate relationships with women. Again, highly recommend you check out this book and read it. It is a great book, great read. So for this video, I actually made a short little list on my phone. I want to say I have 3 examples here. And basically, again, we're going to be talking about the bad habits that patriarchy systematically conditions men to believe just by surrounding you in your environments. It's everywhere that you look. It's where you were, brought up in your home environments, in your school, in your neighborhood, work, wherever you live, wherever you go. You see these happening all over the place. It's conditioning you, and they are not good quality habits for healthy relationships, especially when we talk about between men and women. And the irony about all of this is that patriarchy promotes interactions between men and women. And like we talked about in the previous video, that's not necessarily a good thing, because you could have good quality interactions and you could have bad quality interactions, okay? But the irony with patriarchy is that it presents this image of men and women having happy unions and being in partnerships and all this other stuff. But again, systematically, the behaviors and patterns and habits that it conditions both men and women, but we're focusing on men in this video, it's not good and conducive to the quality lifestyle that it says it promotes, okay? So when we look at these things deeper, then you'll start to see the mask coming off, so to speak, all right? So again, bad habits that patriarchy systematically promotes men to develop that don't serve your individual goals to experience happy or fulfilling relationships or families, and it actually undermines all of that, all right? The first example that we have is sleeping around with multiple women while promoting being a family man of values, okay? And we see this a lot in the religious community especially, all right? So basically, patriarchy conditions men and even women to focus on this family unit, this ideal family unit where we idolize marriage, we put it on a pedestal, till death do you part, yada yada. And yet so many times the marriage rate is like what, 50-50? Like there's a 50% chance that you will end up in divorce. There's another, I believe, another 30% chance on top of that you'll be stuck in a miserable marriage that's just for convenience because it's too expensive or too inconvenient to divorce the person. All right, so my guess is that about 70-80% of marriages are failures, whether they want to admit it or not. They're not happy, okay? They're not experiencing the love that they were promised, the fantasy that they were promised when it comes to what we were told to expect when it comes to marriage and long-term committed relationships, okay? That's not the reality. But yet at the same time, you also see this culture that promotes men randomly sleeping around with multiple women. So how do these two things, how can they coexist at the same time and lead you in the right direction, okay? Lead you in even the same direction, all right? It's impossible. There are two opposing ends of the spectrum. So men need to realize that you're pulling from a long-standing systematic playbook. If you're a decent, good person, your first instinct, no arguably your second or 100th instinct, is not going to be to go and cheat on your partner. And also, it's not going to be to sleep with multiple random people so that you can feel a sense of fulfillment or a sense of worthiness. That's not the normal average person's logical default setting. All right. So again, Men need to realize that you're pulling from a long-standing systematic playbook where basically patriarchy is conditioning you, whether it's through your friend circles, whether it's through entertainment, media, music, movies, whether it's through, again, just like the culture that you may have experienced growing up in your neighborhood. Maybe you saw it in your family with relatives cheating on your mother or cheating on your aunt or whoever, whatever the case might be. And another topic that we're not going to dive into in this video, because again, it's getting into the nuances, is that men are praised for this behavior, whereas a woman that does the same thing, she is basically demonized. Okay, so you have different reactions to the same behavior depending on the gender of the individual. And we're focusing on men in this video, again, because this channel is geared towards helping men understand where you can improve so that you can actually obtain your goals of having healthy experiences in relationships. And also just the fact that, again, the patriarchy, conditioning, and culture praises men for these same detrimental behaviors, whereas women are demonized for it. Okay, so you have two basic reactions to the same behavior and thing. So again, on one hand, you have a system that tells men the more women that you sleep with, the more praise, the more accolades, the more manly, the more masculine you are, because you can attract and sleep with so many women. Okay, so sleeping with more women ranks you up higher on the hierarchy ladder, whereas a woman sleeping with more men, that brings her down. Okay, so you got to understand what's going on here. Okay, what's the science? Why is more women valuable whereas more men not so valuable? Okay, so that's the logic in this patriarchy system. All right, it's purely indoctrination from patriarchal and misogynistic systems and a culture that tells you the more women you sleep with, the more of the man it makes you appear to be. So basically, more men need to understand and see the systematic structure for what it is. Okay, it is systematic indoctrination, often misogynistic conditioning of your behavior and your habits. On one end, it's presenting this image of being a family man, having a family, having children, and going to church, X, Y, and the third. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it's also promoting and upholding this: you are more of a man the more women that you sleep around with, including if you are to cheat on your partner, you're still going to be praised for that and highlighted for that in a circle and community of men. In fact, if you so much as, respect your wife or your partner and you want to treat them and love on them, even if you're married to them, okay, even if you're married to this person and you want to treat them with respect and love that decent human being and husband should, then you get called things like a simp, you get called, whipped, and all these other things that's basically trying to emasculate you and claim that you're not man enough because you have a woman that you actually love and care about. So when we start to break down the elements of patriarchy and its indoctrination and the bad habits that it's instilling in men to form and how it impacts the quality of your experiences when it comes to approaching women, dating women, and being in long-term committed relationships, if we really start to pay attention, we see that at every stage, whether it's approaching women, dating women, and even when you're in a long-term committed relationship, married to a woman, there is no escape from being shamed as a man if you so much as respect or show love to a woman and you do the basic, right, decent human thing as being loyal. Okay, every man wants a woman that's loyal to him, but a man that's loyal to his wife, other men might be questioning, are you really a man if you are staying with a woman, one woman that you've committed to? Or have you basically sold out and now you're emasculated, you're more feminine and whatnot because you actually enjoy being with your wife and your woman, the person that you chose to be with, okay, the one that takes care of you. So the math, it's not really mathing. Cheating is praised in this culture, yet ironically also of note that it is presenting the image of the perfect traditional family that's also being put on the pedestal like we just discussed, okay? So again, these are two impossibly conflicting images, and yet that is what patriarchy presents to men. You're praised if you do and praised if you don't, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And so at some point, like, men have to decide, do I want to keep playing this game of damned if I do, damned if I don't, based on other people's opinions and perspectives of my personal, intimate life that's really none of anyone else's business? Where do you draw that line to how much someone else's opinion is going to matter? Whether it's on social media, whether it's within your family circles, your friend circles, when do you draw that line? And also another important thing to highlight here is that this is clearly a no-win situation, right? There's no way that you can win if regardless of what you do, if you do the right thing, love on your wife, be faithful to her, then you get called a simp, X, Y, and the third. And if you do the wrong thing, then of course women aren't going to appreciate that. There are going to be some men that are like, oh, you were wrong for that, X, Y, and the third. But there's the other subset of men that's going to praise you for that and be like, you're just a man. It's in a man's nature to sleep around with multiple people, not be loyal, X, Y, and the third. Okay. So again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Basically, everyone's going to have an opinion. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to find that boundary, draw that line between how much you're going to allow outside opinions to influence the quality of your life, your personal life, and your relationships. And also, at the end of the day, it just shows how much that other people outside opinions really holds no weight. Because at the end of the day, again, you're the one that has to live with that. And quite frankly, if you're someone who claims to be seeking a committed relationship, loyalty is the basic bare minimum. And it's non-negotiable, regardless of what gender you are. The second bad habit that patriarchy systematically conditions in men on a massive collective level across all races, genders, doesn't matter, as long as you're a man. This is being systematically programmed and wired into you, is to suppress your emotions. All right, so suppressing and not expressing your emotions, many of you are familiar with this from childhood. You've been told and you've heard since childhood, don't cry, boys don't cry. It's a sign of weakness. Don't ever let your girlfriend or your wife see you cry, X, Y, and the third. And again, like, this conditioning isn't just exclusive to men. It also gets projected onto women, to whereas a woman, if she has a man that cries, then she's being conditioned to be like, hey, he's weak, and to look down on him and to, be like, you're not man enough if you aren't strong enough. So basically, women are reinforcing to some extent the same beliefs that patriarchy has been upholding. There's a generational cycle of this because that was the social norm for so long. And so it's going to be a lot of bad habit breaking, a lot of bad perception and perspective breaking on both sides. Okay. But for men, because you are the ones that have to actually live with this reality of basically self-numbing and really self-erasure, you guys are the ones that are going to have to be more self-aware and paying more attention to this. So when you don't express your emotions, it adds stress to your body's nervous system and it makes you incapable of being a healthy adult partner. And yet this is promoted as a sign of strength and even leadership in a patriarchy society and system. Okay, so just think about that for a second. When you don't express your emotions, then oftentimes, again, it is literally taking a toll on your body's nervous system, and that's going to manifest in different ways, whether it's a physical illness, whether it's, headaches, whatever the case might be. It's going to manifest because everything is connected. Your mental, emotional, and physical health, all three of those things are intertwined. So if you're not taking care of one, it's no doubt going to take, it's a matter of time before it shows up in any of the other two areas. Oftentimes it's going to be evident in all three the longer it goes on. And this one is really important to highlight because, again, this comes at the cost of your humanity. It is human nature, it is just being human to have a range of emotions, okay? Regardless of gender, we all have a range of emotions. And if you are limited and suppressing your range of emotions just to anger or to being upset and rage, and you're not expressing other things, or you don't learn how to express other things, especially to your partner in a relationship, then it's going to take a toll. Okay, it's going to take a toll on the quality of your relationships. It's going to take a toll on the quality of even your relationship with yourself. It takes a very high toll, has a very high cost to your humanity. And this is what a lot of men, again, realize it now more because of the cultural talks that are shifting to more of an emotional awareness and availability and security. So we're hearing more of these terms, especially with, therapy speak and whatnot. But a lot of you haven't realized for the past several centuries, like, you just thought, suck it up, continue to make do, don't complain, don't say anything, just suffer in silence. And that literally has taken a toll on a lot of men's health, mental health, as well as physical health. You put on this facade like you don't need anyone and you can carry it all alone, then you feel isolated and abandoned because no one will offer to help you because they think that you've got it all together. This makes you feel resentful and unappreciated and often invisible because everyone thinks that you're good. And again, this is the image that you are told to portray so that you look like a leader who can figure out problems and solves everything. You can't ask for help. It makes you look weak, X, Y, and the third. But again, it robs you of your humanity and it robs you of the human experience, because everyone's going to like either, again, isolate you, act like you don't exist because they're not aware that you need help. Okay, part of the human experience is asking for help so that you can receive that community experience. Okay, and if you're not asking for help because you're being told to appear strong, it makes you look weak, X, Y, and the third, and that is the conditioning that's being put into everyone, man or woman, then that's going to be a problem and it's going to be hurting men more so, especially.